Hello everybody, Ewan Spence here, and the next All About Symbian video diary on the Nokia N97. And carrying on my adventures up at the Edinburgh Fringe with the Nokia N97, looking today in a moment in the PIM applications, the diary, the to-do list, the notes and the contacts. Now, just before I go on, I wanted just to talk about the reaction to this device to some of the people. Lots and lots of performers up here have iPhones, and singularly, you know, there are some who think the iPhone is the best thing in the world. Richard Herring does a lovely sketch about when it gets stolen out of his hands by a mugger. But interestingly, when this comes out, and they go, oh, that's quite nice, and I think the white actually makes it much more recognisable. And when the keyboard slides out, they're just like, wow! So the design is actually incredibly attractive to normal people, which is what these reviews are all about. To be honest, you know, I've always been a bit hesitant to show them the screens, and the main system screen with your icons and your tower like that, it still looks a bit plain. Now, admittedly, the front screen with all the widgets, I say all the widgets, there's about 3 or 4 widgets out there just now, although congratulations again to Gravity for building a widget that pops in. They all really like this because they can touch it with their finger, they can see everything in their phone, it's a nice overview of everything. So Nokia have kind of got it just about right. The styling is great. Again, the software is S6, it's version 5. It doesn't have bells and whistles. It still works. It does everything I need it to do and everything's in the right place, yet there's no G-Whiz. And that's what the iPhone system screen has. It has G-Whiz. Rather than cursoring down, you can flick an entire screen, for example. I mean, functionally, that's the same as scrolling down on the N97. But when you're in the shop and looking for something, it's just, ooh, you want to feel like you're in some sort of Japanese anime operating system. You don't want to feel like you're still using Norton Commander. So there we go. Also the keyboard, I'm getting much more used to the keyboard, which I thought I would with the muscle control and the delete in the strange place. I'm still hitting P occasionally instead of delete and vice versa, but it's getting less now, so congratulations to my fingers. And it's obvious it's not suitable for long form typing. You know, text length, great. Twitter length, 160 characters, that's great. Anything more than a paragraph starts to be a bit of a struggle. But there again, I actually think that's a good thing. I'm going to write about this more and all about Symbian as well. The fact that keyboards now no longer have to be ABC123 keyboards or something that you write a document on. There is this middle ground, and the N97 is very close to the perfect middle ground keyboard. Honestly, I still think the E75 keyboard is very slightly better. It's slightly larger, it's got a little bit more travel in the keys, it's just a little bit more tactile, but I've no complaints about the N97. Quite happy to have that on my phone. Right then, the PIM applications. OV-Sync is the main one I do want to bring up here because that's what I've used to copy the data off from other phones, and it started to pop in the occasional error. Now, OV-Sync's been really good on the E75 and the N95 sort of joined together, but the N97's picked up a couple of formatting errors, names going in the wrong places, you know, so it's just like, oh, right, well, to be honest, I was a bit careful here. What I did with OV-Sync was I said, just put data onto the phone, don't do a sync of the contacts, so there's dump down, which is fine because if I synced it back up it would throw everything out, but it's still not robust enough. And OV-Sync, one platform, yeah, on the web. OV-Sync is going to S60. You know what it's going to. There should not be any sync issues. It should just work, and it kind of just works. But there's this nagging feeling that if you do it too much, it's gonna blow it, and that destroys any confidence in sync whatsoever, and that is a bad thing. One of the things that Palm OS was great at and still great on is the fact that it synced seamlessly because it was going from 2 identical databases. Why Nokia haven't doing that for OV and why it isn't as robust as that, I do not know. Contacts. Let's start with the contacts application. This is the new improved contacts application, which is also the same one that runs on the E75. And I like this. For example, if you click on someone's name, you actually get a pop-up that just says, well, do you want to call them, do you want to, you know, email them, do you want to text them? I like that. It doesn't give the details, it doesn't say call this number, it just says, do you want to call them? Great. You tab over with the right cursor and then you get into the edit screen, which is the more traditional one that you used to in S60. That's great. It's the same as when you touch the icons on the front screen. It literally brings up that main panel box. What's more intriguing is that there are two icons for contacts. There's contacts and OV contacts, and both of them take you into the same application. One of them takes you into your normal contacts list, and one of them takes you into the second tab, which is the OV contacts for IM and presence and status updates. Well, that's not confusing at all, is it? Oh, what a great idea. We've got a contact application you can launch 2 ways, and they just take you to a different bit. Obviously, they're shortcuts. You know, I can see the rationale behind it, but for the man in the street, or the woman in the street, or the young teenager in the street, it's just confusing. You've got 2 icons that do the same thing because you've got a very complicated contacts application that has 2 modes in it. So, you know, that's a UI fail. It's not a big UI fail, but there's so many of these that have just crept into S60 and still stayed there. I mean, if you look at the calendar application, yes, you can see more information on the screen, but basic things like category support, being able to squish everything up so you can see an entire day's worth of appointments that you have on the screen. It's, you know, the same complaints that we had with the 7650 in terms of category support not being there are still present in these phones 8 years later. No! Category support should have been there out the gate and should have been there every single time somebody's decided not to put support in. I do not know why. It's just crazy. It makes the notes application very difficult to use if you've got more than 10 notes. It makes the to-do application pretty much useless. I can remember 5 things in my head. I want to remember 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 in different projects. I cannot do that with a built-in to-do list. Yet again, it's useless. It's neutered. And it's still the same fault. Why Nokia insists on just keeping this as crippled? I don't know. Maybe it's because we complained so long we don't bother complaining about it anymore, so Nokia think that we're okay with it. But there are improvements in the calendar. It's got the split layout. It uses the rest of the screen to good effect. You do have multiple views, and certainly it's nice with the sort of month view. I actually quite like the month view. It's very good for Edinburgh because you've got all this stuff happening in 3 weeks and you have to make quick appointments and you can jump very quickly, and this is where the touchscreen actually comes into its own. So I really enjoyed that section. So there is hope. They are making changes to it, yet they're not fast enough, and this is something that I really do hope. If you look at something like the Palm Pre, which is having its social address book, when you look at phones that are coming out from the other manufacturers that, you know, can do integration with desktop PIM suites properly. So the traditional Palm OSs are the old example of that. Windows Mobile as well. Apple has Mobile Me. Nokia just do not have that ability to transfer data with confidence. And I think that's what I would really love to see. Yes, there are firmware updates. Yes, there are bugs needs fixed. And yes, they're going forward to Symbian Foundation and Symbian to the power of 2 and to the power of 4 and new stuff with Qt. But the basics need done as well as the G-Quiz. At the moment, it seems to be, well, we're going to ignore the basics and we think the G-Quiz is coming along in 6 months. Well, you know, that's not any good nowadays, is it? We want all of that now. But given the choice between G-Quiz and functioning PIMs that will work in an office environment, can I have functioning PIMs, please? Right then, well, yeah, that sounded like exactly the same stuff that I said in the 5800 video diary and the E75 video diary about the PIM applications. Maybe that should tell you something. As always, your comments are welcome back at allaboutSymbian.com. I am compiling a list of all your questions and I will get to them, I promise. But for now, thank you for watching.